My name is Greg Reynolds, and I get a chance to share my testimony with you all today. I grew up in the Chicago churches, and I'm what you call a kingdom kid, someone who was kind of born into the church. Parents are disciples, and that's kind of how my story begins. My mom name is Georgia Reynolds. She's in the Southland region of the Chicago churches right now. And when I was young, when I was around 9 years old, my parents who were disciples, they separated for the first time when I was 9, and that definitely had an impact on 9-year-old version of me, a 9-year-old Gregory, just trying to just navigate that and just seeing my mom persevere through the trial that she was in with now being a single mother and having to raise me without my father really being present anymore. And so that in itself is is a story in itself. But needless to say, long story short, we are in the Chicago church for pretty much my entire adolescence. And so we were in the Chicago church, but in the city region, there became a point around 7th grade for me where my mom decided that we're no longer going to go to the Chicago city region for church. Instead, we're going to go to the Southland region of the Chicago church. And so around 7th grade is when we made that transition, and it was tough being able to go to a whole new church, leaving behind all my friends that I'd grown up with and made in the Chicago city region. And all the while, just even my dynamic with my friends, I was certainly living kind of two lives and being two different people at once. I would act and say things and be a certain way when I'm around my mom or my friends from church, or just even at church or at the different summer camps that we would have. I would be one way with my church friends, but then I would be a completely different person with my friends at school and middle school and junior high and high school, and just constantly living through that back and forth of living kind of a double life type situation where I'm two different people at once. And that in itself was just stressful, trying to manage those two things. But in high school, different people have different things that they find hardest to give up, or find different things that they pursue in life. And for me, in high school, something that I really idolized was to have a relationship with a girl, and idolizing having a relationship, idolizing girls in general. That was something that I did heavy in my years in high school, and just going after, just chasing after different girls, chasing after different relationships, trying to really, now that I'm a disciple, I can look back on, I was really trying to fill the hole for love of some sense, and I thought that finding it in somebody else would get the job done. And so I would just relentlessly search after relationship after relationship, trying to make something work, and it never did work. And so much so that I just found myself hitting the same walls repeatedly. Why aren't things working out? Why isn't my way working? Why does this girl not want to pursue, and really just hitting the same walls, and finding myself after these pursuits and these chasings, like asking myself, what am I doing right now? Like, is this really, this is not what life has to, this is not all what life is. Like, I'm doing something wrong here. Something's up. But all the while, me being a kingdom kid, still unwilling to surrender fully to God. Something I didn't know when I was, going through these processes of chasing after the wind, chasing after girls. One thing I did know, that if I were to become a disciple, if I were to surrender my life and hand it over to God, that it would come at a sacrifice. Like, there would be things about myself, things about just who I am that I know would have to change. I've grown up in the church. I've seen people become disciples. And so I knew how big of a deal it was. This was no small thing to really study the Bible and get baptized and be added to God's kingdom. But I found myself not wanting or unwilling to surrender my life fully over to God. There was a time in high school when I was praying by myself, and I prayed in my prayer. I basically told God in the prayer that I was going to be a disciple one day, but it was going to be when I wanted to hand over the reins. It was going to be at the time that I decided, and it was going to be around when I'm 40 years old. That is the age I decided that I would be ready and willing to hand my life over to God. And me thinking about that now, that is such a selfish prayer. Like that's so arrogant. That's so prideful for me to think that I can somehow, put God on hold, and because I want to do things my way for however long I want to do it. That is not surrendering at all. But that's the spot that I was in. And so fast forward to just me keep hitting these walls and just being like, what's going on here? I guess at that time, thank the Lord, my heart is softened because I am defeated mentally. And so praise God for that. But I get a call from Ian Peel, who is an evangelist in the Southland region, who was my teen minister at the time. And Ian Peel, he gives me a call, and I pick up the phone and I answer him. And when I answer him, Ian is, number one, caught off guard, because for my entire teen life, I had always been dodging him. He would be calling me and checking up and trying to study the Bible with me, and I was not having it because I was unwilling to surrender anything to God. And and so I would always consistently dodge in. I would not be wanting to pick up his calls. And me being in this spot now, being defeated, being like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Something has to change. I'm now open to God. I'm now open to studying the Bible and really just even exploring surrendering. And so I answer the phone, and he's caught off guard, and he wants to hear my voicemail, because my voicemail is still, to this day, unfortunately, the same voicemail I made when I got my first phone when I was 11. And so he was calling to hear my voicemail to show his wife Becca how silly my voicemail is. But when I answered him, it caught him off guard, and he asked me if I was interested in studying the Bible. And given everything that had happened, I was totally open to really just seeing what life would be like, just kind of surrendering to God and becoming a disciple. And as we studied the Bible, I think it was made very clear to me just how prideful I was in my thinking, and how I was so dead set on stalling God and putting God off to the side and putting him on the back burner because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And when I really learned and read for the first time everything that Jesus went through for my sake, it just makes me being prideful and arrogant, and by not wanting to surrender, I felt stupid. I felt very stupid. I felt very just like ridiculous putting God off any longer, because like me, so undeserving, how sinful I am. Jesus in my place took my sins. Like that's supposed to be me on the cross, and yet because of the Son, I am blameless and pure, and I don't deserve that. And so we continue studying the Bible, and it's made clear to me that, man, the time to surrender is now. And on November 19th, 2017, I was baptized and added to God's kingdom. That's where my story begins. Typically, I know that's where the testimony of it ends, but that's where the real story begins. If I get the privilege to be able to share with anyone my testimony, I would leave them with this. There are a lot of things that we chase after. There are a lot of things that we really desire, and a lot of it can be used to glorify God. But I would encourage anyone, if there's anyone listening right now to this testimony, man, only God can fill whatever hole that you may be trying to desperately fill. That only God can provide the love, the security, the protection, the righteousness, the security. Like, only God can be the one to provide all those things that we need and that we desire everlasting. Everything else is just temporary. And so that would be my encouragement to anyone else who finds themselves in a similar situation that I was. And so thank you for hearing my testimony.